One's life begins to change when their desires transform into concrete actions. You're listening to the Desire to Be podcast, where your desires for your life and relationships become your mastery. I'm your host, Devora Goldberg, and thank you for joining. Welcome back to another wonderful episode on the Desire to Be podcast. I'm really excited about today's guest. Today we have Liba Yoffe. She is the CEO and founder of Spirit Fit Life. Liba, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
Liba, I want you to start off by telling my audience a little bit about yourself. Give us some background, please.
So I live in Phoenix, Arizona. I am a single mom of 4, and I'm from New York. I was born and raised there. I lived in Israel for a while, and now we're here in Arizona. I've had a lot of experience in the health world with women specifically, childbirth, going down to fitness, mental health. Where I am right now, everything that I've ever done all together in one, because realizing just what women really need. And everything that I did was like a pocket of it. And I was like, how do I really help people as a whole? So it's bringing that experience of what I went through personally and of all the things that I've done that have brought me to where I am today.
So would you say that would be the nutshell of Spirit Fit Life?
Well, I would tell you, so I have 4 kids, like I mentioned. My oldest is a girl. She's my only daughter. And at 2 years old, she got something called alopecia, which means she started losing her hair. I had no idea. I was a young mom, all excited, my first. And by the time she was 2.5, she had no hair, completely bald, no hair in her body. When we finally got a diagnosis, it was alopecia, which is cosmetic, which means there's nothing actually physically wrong health-wise.
Mm-hmm.
It's a cosmetic thing.
What was that like for you when you first got the diagnosis?
I mean, I was in complete denial. I was like, of course it's going to grow back. Like, what do you mean? Even did that thought of like, actually, like could be her. And then I pretty quickly realized that the only way that I could accept this and also raise a daughter who's going to be confident, who's bold, would be to actually embody it myself. That was something I'm like, how did I know that? I just knew. I knew that like, if I wasn't confident, there's no chance. Like, I can't fake it. I knew I couldn't fake it. I couldn't put on it. It had to be like deep within me, real.
Tell us about that, what confidence looks like, because for some people, it's more theoretical. You're standing on stage and I have the confidence.
So people think like you're born with confidence. You're so confident. It's a skill. It's something you have to practice. Real confidence and real self-care is a deep sense of self-love. And what does self-love mean? Self-compassion, understanding. If you know yourself really well, you get yourself, why you mess up, why you feel, you're not going to self-sabotage. You're going to deal with it from a place of compassion like you would with your child if they messed up. You wouldn't be like, what's wrong with you? Right? I mean, you might, but the point is that you get it. They're tired. They had a bad day. It's the same thing with ourselves. So like when we, let's say, look in the mirror and you're going to see the person based off how you feel about yourself, about your self-esteem, nothing actually to do with what you look like, because it's where your head's at. So that's why people could even change how they look. And they're like, why do I still not like myself? Like, what is going on? Right? So it's the fact that a stranger stares at us in the street and tells me, what's wrong with you? Why is your daughter bald? And instead of feeling sad, it's like neutral. It's like, oh, you're curious, because I would also be curious if I saw a bald child in the street. So I might say something off color, right? And if I knew that if that was my reaction to it, like really, that would be her reaction to it. And I saw as I changed, I stopped noticing people even looking. And my daughter, she doesn't see it because it's a non-issue. She knows everyone's looking at her and it makes no difference, right? So I was not a confident person. I had a fake confidence, I would say. Like everyone thought I was confident, but inside I was just trying so hard to play that game and to be that person. And I had a lot of insecurities, unhealthy relationship with my body and food. So that's where my journey began and why I feel so passionate about specifically helping moms.
I want to talk about that in a moment, but I just want to go back to your daughter for a moment. Your daughter, Tehilla, right?
Yeah.
Did she ever give you feedback on what it was like for her growing up, having a mom that was confident and was unapologetic to the public about walking around with a bald head, but feeling so confident inside? Has she given you that feedback?
So first of all, she doesn't know the difference, right? Like she doesn't know what it would look like if she had somebody who wasn't like that. Now, we have an organization called Heroes for kids with alopecia, Heroes. And we see kids all around who are so ashamed. Like she gets them to take off their wigs. And so she sees the opposite of what it feels like, right? So she knows. but she can't understand like, oh, you gave me like, meaning this is that confidence, right? We talk about just in general stuff about being brave and like what she feels like being the only one not having hair. And at this point, it's a non-thing. But when she was younger, it was the first time I bought her a wig. I had to figure out like, do I want to do that? Is it bad for her? Is it good for her? Like, how do I relate to everybody coming around and staring at us? Like my reaction, this is my test. Like that's going to become who she is, right? So she doesn't really know any different, but she knows that she's different.
Different and beautiful. I just love her confidence that she exudes. Whatever you show us on social media it's very clear and it's really beautiful to watch. No shame, just
Right.
like just happy in her body. Let's shift to Spirit Fit Life. Tell us how it started and how you were at that moment when you were ready to, like you said, give this package of whatever you offer back to women.
I always say that it came to me because I didn't know what it would be. Like, this is what the people need, right? Which I mean by that is like, when I first started, I couldn't have dreamed what this could have been because I didn't even know I was capable of it myself. I know I can reach people, but running a business, I wasn't a businesswoman. I didn't have any experience. I did everything just because I'm successful at what I do, but it didn't run anything like a real professional business.
Mm-hmm.
So once I started, it was like, oh my gosh, I opened it because I was like, I want to do more. I need to help women more. So let's see if I can reach people virtually, right? And then, as we grew, like it started out as mainly like fitness, nutrition, but with the whole different mindset of like actual healing and dealing with like the core and the source. And now it's developed to the therapeutic program. We do somatic work, everything. It's your whole inner world changes and all the things that everyone's trying to change, which is like the things that change when we actually change internally, like let's say diet or fitness, like those are those are the byproduct. But the way I started it, I hired my first business coach. And then it keeps evolving. Like we just opened a single mom one because it's something that doesn't exist anywhere else. This level of support for women. I always think about like moms, like we are there for everything. Like now this is everything for you. Finally, people don't realize that because they won't even want to admit that. But if you're the CEO of a company, you need your support. You need your guidance. Moms are probably the most neglected people anywhere, just in general.
Absolutely. So where would you say the pain point of your clients are when they first join your program?
So we have very different range because our program is not a one size fits all. We don't believe in one size fits all at all. That's why you can have someone come here from the spectrum, ages. The common denominator is everybody wants real growth, real change. Whether it's a weight loss goal, whether it's a self-love goal, whether it's learning how to find deep levels of joy, it's all going to stem from that place of like, I want it for real. I want to do the real work. It's like people, they already at that place, they want more. They want to feel that joy. They want to have better connections, relationships, communication. They want to be present. So it's either people that are, let's say, I'm just so sick and tired of feeling so exhausted. They even could be super successful at work. They don't feel like they're enjoying life. Like everything on the outside looks good, but I'm struggling inside. Or they're at a place of like their self-confidence is like, I'm really uncomfortable in my body. I do not like how I look. I'm not comfortable with being vulnerable and I don't even know who I am anymore. There's like that range.
So if we can just dive into that for a second, give my audience a bigger picture or more specific picture. Someone who comes to you with low confidence, why might that happen? Someone who's lethargic and exhausted, why might that happen?
I'll give you an even example of, let's say, someone who's like low confidence, meaning they're living their life, they have like their mom, they have children, whatever it is, and they have this sense of there's something missing. Like I should be happy, but I'm not. Why am I not loving this stage of life? Either there's something like they want to do something else, but they don't know what it is. Then they stop doing all the things they loved. And their body's not even, let's say, aligning with what their beliefs are because they're feeling tired and out of shape. And they're like, but this isn't me. And they're like, I want to get back to that place where I feel like driven and alive and connected. That would be like, enough is enough. I'm just sitting in this place and it doesn't feel very good. And then there's like a mom who's stopped exercising or doing any of that stuff since she had her kids. And she's just like, I can't, my body's falling apart. And I want to be surrounded by other women who are going to help me get to that place. They're not going to talk about diet. They're not going to talk about weight. There's going to be no pressure on that stuff. And it's such a beautiful environment to grow. And that's where they're able to. So I came to get stronger, but now it's a full circle of everything in their life come.
The Desire to Be podcast is taking sponsors for upcoming episodes. If you have a business that you'd like to advertise, if you have a product that you'd like to advertise, this is the platform to do it on. It will reach all my audience members, giving you lots of great exposure. Or maybe you just want to sponsor an upcoming show and support the Desire to Be podcast. If you're interested in sponsorship or advertising, reach out to me on either LinkedIn or on Instagram. You'll find me under my name, Devorah Goldberg. Thank you again for listening. I want to touch on a point that you said. People will come to you and say, my body is falling apart, just to give my audience more of an idea, because I want them to really appreciate what kind of people you're helping. You're helping humans, and these things happen. It can happen to anyone, but most of the times, as you said, as moms, we just push everything down. So when someone says to you, their body's falling apart, what are they feeling?
First of all, there's the physical pain of just, it doesn't matter how you look. You can be big, small, it doesn't make a difference. When your body's falling apart, which just means, first of all, you're most probably exhausted, but there's pains that you can be 26 and feel like you're 60. And that literally makes me cry. I'm like, you're so young. When did you stop noticing even the pains that you're feeling in your body? We start accepting them. Post-birth, it's like they've never built a strong core. So then your core is weak and your hips and your knees, everything, and being physically strong. And this is a member said this to me yesterday. So we have, this is one of our single mom members. We probably have maybe 10%, but this woman came with zero voice. I'm telling you, she would go, she's like, I'm so embarrassed to go into the gym. She is so strong. And when she was telling me yesterday, I wish I could just tell every woman that powerlifting has nothing to do with physical strength. She's like, you don't understand how I feel the rest of the day. And her face was shining. She's like, I believe in myself. I know I could do anything. I do hard things. And I'm like, yes, if only other people understood that being strong, right? Having a strong body has nothing. Yeah, it's nice to look good. Believe me, I love it. I love being cut, but it feels so good. You feel like you can do hard things in life. It's a confidence. It's an inner thing that you did something really hard. You pushed your limits. It's something that's so much more. When you show up for yourself and exercise, you're saying, I'm important. I respect myself. I value myself. I deserve high quality, because if you're not going to buy cheap things for something that you really value, you're going to treat it in a certain way. So it's the same thing. It's a whole shift, and it's just from exercising in the way with that mindset. Mm-hmm. So you see how one little thing can literally change so much. So through the exercises, this woman's pain points has just completely transformed into, I am a strong person. I believe in myself.
Yeah. And how do you cultivate that change within their minds? What's specific about your program that makes it different from other health coaches out there?
First of all, we care. We care about every single person. We care to get to know them, what's their triggers, what drives them, what their history. Mm-hmm. We care about the long term. We don't care about temporary. We're not thinking about right here if you did it. You didn't miss it long term. We want to help you get to that place. So imagine that is the goal. The whole plan is different. So when we're thinking about exercise, we're not saying, here's a workout. Yes, we customize everything, but we think about what your journey was to get here. Why don't you like it? What's your relationship with your body? All the other things that we're working on and why we exercise just come into play with this. The workout is such a simple part. We have members that never moved or don't like moving, and they learn to literally enjoy being in their body because they create a new relationship with their body. So there's mindset work that we do, workshops, visualizations. We have a whole program, and we learn about our nervous. We have a whole somatic, which is the nervous system, the triggers in our nervous system, which are actually the drivers. So it's we're doing this work and we're actually taking action, which we're doing the workout. So it's the therapy, the nutrition, the fitness, all in one mindset, cohesively working together with a very high level support. People who care and are there consistently, know what you're doing, know how you're doing, meet with you personally. People go to therapy, they're like, yeah, I did, but then nothing happens. Or it's 1 hour and then what? But you need to connect it to your life. Where's that actual, today, you slept late, you don't have enough time, you're overtired, someone triggered. Okay, that's the part that matters. So that's
that's the weak point.
Right. And that's how the shifts really happen, because those are the things that matter. It's not just the bigger picture.
Yeah.
So it's we think of the psychology of humans, we think of the long-term results, and then we have our own method of healing.
You mentioned something interesting, that some people say, I'm not the kind of person who will be active. And it's interesting to me because people will label themselves as, I'm organized or I'm messy. I'm active or I'm not. I don't do the workout thing. I do other things. I just don't work out. I'll walk, but I don't go to the gym. I'm curious what your opinion on that is. I'm assuming that we can cultivate a new mindset, but for people out there thinking it's just not me, what would you say to that?
Right. So people always say that to me, or they'll say I'm lazy or I'm not a workout person. So first of all, first thing I always ask people, they'll ask it back to you, because I want you to think. When you recognize something, you'll be like, oh, and that's what actually you'll, because you figured it out. So I'll say to them, when did you decide that? Right away. They'll be like, I'm not a workout person. I'm like, when did you decide that you're not a workout person? And they're like, and think about that answer that's going to come from that. They're going to try to, I was always like that. Most probably not. They'll probably, I used to this, or they'll tell you since I was a kid, my parents, so there's going to be a story almost always. And then I'll ask them, do you believe that's true? Is that true? So let's say someone tells me they're lazy. I'm like, do you have a job? They're like, yeah, I work full time. How many kids? Oh yeah. I'm like, and you still think you're lazy.
Right.
Just because you don't work out, like that has nothing to do with lazy. That's an excuse and that's a reason for you to stay that way. Then they're like, you know what? You're right. I'm actually not lazy. And they realize themselves what the problem is. And then they could actually then go change it because they're taking responsibility for it. So I'm always like, when did you believe it? And then it's like, what do you actually believe is true? You could do the same thing. I label myself as somebody who does hard things. Now I'm strong. Now that could hurt me also, because if I'm strong and I do hard things, when something is too hard and I should ask for help, it's harder for me. I don't give up. And if I don't give up, I could stay in something too long that I shouldn't be in. It's not healthy. The same way as I'm so strong, it was hard for me to be weak, quote unquote, which would be cry, which I do all the time now, because that's the point, is that
Release of energy. It's
let
good
it out.
stuff.
That's strength, to be real. But because I labeled myself like that, as you think it would be positive, it was hard for me to not be positive, like to show the real parts, because everybody doesn't want that part. They think you're that. So it goes both ways, and we get to choose and decide like what we believe is the truth and to rewrite our story.
Yeah.
Anybody can rewrite their story. We take our stories from generations ago, we don't even realize. But when we realize it, then we get to shift it and create a new one.
How has your journey in life changed or shifted when you started becoming more vulnerable and open about your weaknesses and how you want to improve yourself?
You wouldn't recognize me if you would have met me, let's say 5 years ago, when I first, like, social media changed my life because it helped me. I had to be vulnerable. It forced me. I wasn't real. I wasn't on it. I was fake. I only showed one side of me. Like, it was so hard. I was the farthest from vulnerability. It was so, so hard for me. It is freedom. It is everything. When you're vulnerable, but for real, when you understand yourself, it's a whole new world. First of all, you connect to people differently. You understand yourself. You don't stay stuck. It's the hardest work. The brave, it's like the people who are the bravest are the people that are willing to be vulnerable, because real vulnerability is taking a risk with no idea if you're going to get any outcome. So you're doing it without, usually you only take a risk because you know you're going to get something, you're sure of it. People don't like taking risks without knowing, will I live or die? But that's what vulnerability is. Will I live or die? You don't know. So it's like those times of being brave and doing those things, every single time I'm able to do that, then I can learn from that experience. So it's changed, like, I mean, changed everything. Just the fact that when I got divorced as a single mom, like each thing was like a breakthrough for me, because I was on American Ninja Warrior as the perfect vision. I had a TV episode in my house just half a year before, and it was like before I got divorced. So it was very vulnerable, like to go all these things. But every single time, it's like you're allowing yourself a space when you're vulnerable to be, to breathe, to exist, instead of carrying all that fear. It's letting it go.
And usually when we are vulnerable, we attract others who are in a similar position as us. Did you find that you touched the heart of someone else and you opened up possibilities for them as well?
I know that by every single time that I'm vulnerable and grow or do one thing, it gives someone else. I always say I have TikTok, and then I opened it because it was the pace that I felt more safe to be vulnerable first. And I called it Single Mom Secrets. What's the point of that? I say secrets that other people are too afraid to share. So by me being vulnerable, give someone else permission to feel that feeling, or to admit that feeling, or to be vulnerable. Every single time I get a message, thank you for saying that, I'm not alone. My vulnerable, like that's my drive. I'm like, I know that somebody is going to hear this and it's going to affect them, because I'm willing to be brave. So you attract people who are attracted to vulnerability, who want that for themselves, and also people who like it, like me. I love people. Like, if you're a weirdo, I'm like, yes, because that means you're yourself, so it's attractive to me.
Who would you say inspires you on a daily basis?
Goodness, lots of people. I'm just trying to think. I mean, there's different avenues of what I'm inspired by with different things. One of my friends, Beatty Deitch, she's just somebody that inspires me just in general as a person. And one of the big things is because she has I like when people are passionate, just passionate people, and they believe in something very strongly. That to me is just very inspiring, whatever it is. You're willing to go out and just do things and whatever, because you're passionate, whether it sucks, I don't care. And I love that she's just like very strong in her beliefs and whatever it is. And she just goes against the grain, which is like inspiring for me.
It sounds like it kind of mirrors your personality and your drive for life. On the Desire to Be podcast, I like to hone in on the specific desires of my guests. Each person is driven by a desire to be something specific, and we are driven by something innately within us. We want to be something. We want our families to be a certain way. We want to leave a mark on the world. What would you say your desire is?
So my desire is, when I close my eyes, I'm like, what do I want with all the work that I do? I want to help women. First of all, I believe I'm changing the world, and I could change the world, because we change like a generation of women. I see it go to the next generation. That's how we change it. So to be able to shift, like, I want each individual woman to be able to get to their truth and their joy and live their life like that. I have no agenda in what way, but if that means we heal and we live in our truth as opposed to in those fears. When I say woman smiling and she's like, I'm so proud of myself, I'm like, yes, that's the moment. Like, you are proud of yourself. That makes me the happiest, because everyone could tell you everything, but I know that the joy is yours. Oh, that's what I live for. That's my mission, is to help each woman and whatever it is in their life. Whatever decisions they make, it's because they want it. It's because it's coming from strength and health, and they're living their fullest life. I don't know why, but I was born with this drive of doing that in whatever way I can. And now I know that, like, I have the capability to make it happen. Through our retreats also, we have all this different stuff.
That's phenomenal. I love that. And that brings me into my next question. Do you have any upcoming programs, or do you have any way that my audience can sign up for any of, I guess, programs or memberships that you have?
Sure. So, I mean, you can find me on my Instagram, which I'm sure you'll share. And then I have a website, which you could go on and just look at our different programs. We always have different things going on. We have different offers. So we have higher tickets, lower tickets, mid-levels. I give a free workshop and webinar every other month. So check us out and you'll see what we're promoting at that time.
What's your website?
www.spiritfitmama.com.
Okay.
And feel free to shoot me messages, because not everything's on the website.
And if anyone wants to reach you personally, they can find you on the website. They can find you on Instagram.
Yes.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for doing this. You are just a wealth of information. You're just a wealth of inspiration. Thank you so much. Ah, what a great episode. Thank you for being here. I truly, truly appreciate you. I'd love for you to tap 5 stars and let me know what resonated. Be sure to connect with me on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn under my name, Devora Goldberg. That's where I give you more content. That's where we're able to engage even further. Until next episode, stay safe and be well.